Just to understand the second and third approach, I'm just going back to one of our previous discussed approach. Say, for example, if it is any other collection, I'm going an example of hash set here. How do you create the syntax of hash set, the generic syntax? Assume we're writing inside a main method, all the import statements are done. Then we'll be using a hash set, then generic type, say for example, integer, and then object variable of programmer choice equals to new, again hash set, the generic type as integer, then default constructor as no parameters, then semicolon. How do we add elements to this asset collection? hs dot add of, since they are integer type, so we can add some objects which are integer type only. So I'm adding some roughly 2 elements, that's it. Then in how many ways we can print this asset collection? 3 different ways. What's the first approach? By using a print statement. So system.out.println, say print hs is the first approach. Second approach, for each loop, please turn the syntax. For the type is here integer, programmer defined variable name, colon, a collection name called as hs. Then inside this system.out.println, say print x. So this is the second approach. What third approach? By using iterator. So this is where the second one and third one, let us discuss even for the hash map also. For that reason, I'm just discussing for hash first. What third approach, please? Iterator. Iterator left hand side is a interface, some programmer defined object variable name, it equals to on which collection you want to iterate. So hs dot a method called as iterator with small I. So here is capital I and here is small I. Any parameters? No parameters. So once we have this it object which is pointing to hash set collection, then how do we print it? By using a loop. Why while loop? Because we don't know how many objects were there in the collection. So we don't know, that's the reason. So while, what is the method? On iterator object it dot has next is a method which will make sure that next element is present. If it is there, it will return true, means loop will continue. If it is not there, has next method will return false, therefore the loop will be stopped itself. Then inside this while loop, how to print it? System.out.println, so print it dot next method to print it. These are the 3 different approaches which we can apply on any of these set implemented classes and also any of the list implemented classes as well. Then can we implement the same thing on array list also? Array list. Can we use iterator on array list? Is my question. Yes or no? Yeah. Your point is correct, but can we use iterator on array list or not? Yes, because iterator is a universal cursor, so we can apply on any of the collections, even including list as well. Yeah. But especially for array list and linked list, list iterator is there. What is the reason? To traverse in bidirectionals. Yeah. So that's the reason. Iterator is also applicable on list. But by using iterator, we cannot go for the previous values or previous index numbers. That's where the limitation is. Yeah. Then come to the next part, hash map. Any map for that matter. What is map? Is nothing but map is a collection of individual objects or key and value pairs. It is a collection of key and value pair. And whenever we create any map object, there is a corresponding key will be there and the corresponding value will be there. And whatever we store, it will be stored into this collection. Any map collection, I am taking an example of hash map. Correct? Yeah. What is this each key value pair is called as? All of you please. Each key value pair into a map collection is called as one entry. What is this entry? Yeah, entry is a combination of key and value pairs, is correct. But hash map is a implemented class. Hash map is a class which is a implemented class of map interface. Correct or not? So in the same way, I'm asking, is entry is a class or interface? Entry is one interface. Is it defined explicitly or it's a child of map interface? Entry is a interface which is a child interface of map. So that means if map is defined as an interface map, we have seen this interface map. So inside this interface map, some methods and all, then somewhere one more interface is nothing but interface entry. Its corresponding methods. There are three methods in this. So that is where the difference comes. We cannot print this directly like we print on set and list by using second approach and third approach. So we have to understand some internal things. That's the reason I'm discussing again clearly. So since entry is an interface which is present in a nested interface, not a child interface, I'm sorry. It is a nested interface. Interface inside one more interface. It's not a child. It is a nested interface. Then whenever we are using this entry, is it possible to use it directly the internal things without referring to the external part? For example, if I take a class, some class A, inside this I am taking one variable called as int x equals to 100. A class name A, which is having a variable called as x whose value is 100. Can I access this variable directly from outside class? How do we access this x variable? By creating the object. If we create the object, can we use x variable directly? Possible or not possible? Object variable dot sub variable name is the process to access the other class members. Why we are using object variable dot? Because internally in the memory, for example, this is the object of class A. Somewhere inside this object only, this x value will be stored, and this will be pointing to some object variable name, some variable name. Yeah, correct or not? Can we use this directly x? No, it is not possible without referring to this object variable. So it is not possible to access the internal data. Similarly, whenever we are trying to access this entry based methods, entry interface related methods, it is always we have to refer to the map. So map dot entry, then only we can access the entry based things. That means entry is nothing but which is having either keys and values. So we can get a keys, all the keys together. We can get only values together. We can get the entire as a set together. So these are the three methods which are present in this entry. Inside this entry, there is one method called as key set. Key set means why we are calling this set, or duplicates are allowed onto these keys. No, for example, if it is one, some Java, then two, Python, then three, some other HTML, then four, some CSS, something like this. So are duplicates are allowed on keys? No, when duplicates are not allowed, then it is called as what? Which entity doesn't allow duplicates? Set. That's why it's called as a key set. And return type is a set there, set object. When it comes to values, values can be duplicated. Yes or no? When duplicates are there, what do you call that? It may be list, but it is not a list here. It is by using only values is a method. So by using this values method, we get the return type as a collection. Any collection as a return type there. This is the second method which is present in the entry interface. Next, there is third one to get the entire data as key value pairs. There is one more thing called as entry set. This also will result some collection. It can be any of the type. So these are the three methods which are present in this. And get key and also get value and set value. So these are the methods which are present in collections related to map and also collection related to entry interface. In general, including this map interface and also entry interface. So these are the methods which you are going to use the second approach to print hash map and to use the third approach to print the hash map. So these are some methods which are present in set and the corresponding entry interface. So we need one or two methods from this. That's why I'm giving the entire introduction. We need these one or two methods to use the second approach for hash map or any maps and to use the third approach for even hash map or any map. That's the reason I'm just giving you some introduction. Try to remember. Once this is done, these are the methods which are present. Then how do we go for second approach to print hash map data or key value pairs, and how to use third approach to print the key value pairs of the any maps. So for this, let me erase and we'll go for the syntax and the creation of this. For reference, I am writing both hash and hash map so that we identify where is the difference exactly. Now for the second approach and third approach, I am creating one hash map syntax. Can you please tell me? Hash map, some generic type. So let me go for as a key value pair. Both are objects or any one can be object. Must be or can be. Both must be objects because hash map is what? It's a collection. Simply it's a collection. What every collection will contain? Objects only. Objects means there is no other type. Should be only wrapper classes. So let me go for integer, comma, some string. Then hm is my object variable equals to new hash map. Again the same generic type, integer, comma, string. Then default constructor, simple. This is the syntax of how do we create the hash map object. How do we add the values? Since it's not a child interface of collection, so it has a separate methods. What is that method? hm dot put is one method, and I'm adding one comma, say some string Java. The next one, hm dot put of, say some 2 comma, some Python. Only two objects I have added to this in the form of a key value pairs. Now to go for this second approach, how do we print? By using for each loop. This first approach is nothing but, what's the first approach? System.out.println. So print hm. So this we have seen in the yesterday's class for all the three implemented map implemented classes, hash map and a tree map and a linked hash map. And here is the first approach directly by using a print statement. The second approach, it can be for each loop. So here, for this second approach, please understand this clearly. I'll give time to write. So first, the same for, and it is of which type? It is of which type? So here, the interesting point is, can I go for integer type? Then is it only collection of integers? No. Can I go for string type? No. Is it a collection of only strings? It is a combination of integers and also strings as well. That is where we have to use the entry interface mandate. Yeah. So here, what is our map type? Hash map, then dot entry. Now what this entry will do? This entry will point to the corresponding key value pairs which are there in the corresponding hash map. So here nothing but 1 and Java, then 2 and Python. So this entry will be pointing to this object. Then followed by, what is the normal syntax? First here collection type. So here I'm using hash map dot entry type. Then followed by programmer defined object variable. So let me go for X only. Then followed by colon. So here is the interesting thing. What is normally we use HS, which is nothing but a hash set collection object variable. So here can I use HM? What HM contains? Hash map will contain entirely as object 1 or object 2 or entry 1 and entry 2. But internally what do you have? As a key value pair, one integer is there and one string is there. Again, one more time, one more entry object is as outer look for hash map. But internally what is there? Entry knows that there is a 2 is there and there is a Python is a value there. Integer value and also string value. That's why we can't use directly HM. It will not work because we are referring to what here? Entry. Then we have to use some method which is present inside this hash map. That is nothing but hash map object variable dot. What is that? Entry set is a method which we have to use. This is the difference. Previously, it's a collection type is integer and which is directly pointed by hash set. But when it comes to collection is hash map has two objects, that is entry 1, entry 2. But hash map doesn't aware of internal details. But who is aware of that internal details? Entry interface aware. That's the reason why whenever we are using this hash map dot entry we have to use, and here we have to use this method, not the collection object directly. You'll get a compile time error. Understood? Understood. Then followed by what we have to do? Print. So system dot out dot println, say print x. X refers to what now? Corresponding entry interface object is nothing but x. So directly can we get key and value if you print only x? No. So x dot get key is one method. Just now I listed. X dot get key will print a corresponding key. If you want value also, you can print in the same line or we can print in the new line. So let me add a plus symbol within double quotes, some equal symbol or dots, whatever it is. Then followed by one more plus x dot get value. Semicolon. So this is the story of how do we print hash map or any map by using this second approach called as for each loop. Is it clear? Yeah, so just you have to practice for once or twice, you'll get it. Nothing is there. Directly, it is not possible like previous collections because it is not a direct interface. Inside that, there is a tail interface which is managing all these things. That's the reason we have to use entry. Otherwise, we don't get. Done. Next, one more time, little more focus for third approach. Is it okay if I write down here last, or shall I write on top? Shall I write on top of the screen or shall I write here itself? Last. Is it okay? So normally, how do you use the cursor on any of the collections? By creating object for a cursor. Correct or not? So here is the next thing. So just I'm using iterator some IT equals to on which you have to use HM. But HM will refer to the entry objects or HM will refer to the key and values. Entry objects. This is nothing but directly we cannot use even here also. We cannot use directly even here also. What is the thing is HM is a object variable for hash map. Then again, which method we have to use? Entry set. Yeah, just a minute. HM dot. So first iterator IT equals to. So here I'm leaving it. So then followed by iterator is the method. Iterator is the method. Can we apply this iterator on hash map object directly? Hash map object directly? We cannot iterate on hash map. It will refer to only entry 1 and entry 2, but it will not give the internal data. It is not possible. So for this, one more step which we have to do before. What is that step before we apply on this hm dot iterator is? So first we have to use that hm dot entry set is a method. What this will return? This will return some collection. So we can store it into any of the collection. I am using some set yes. I am using set yes equals to hm dot enter set, same as like this only. Internally it is this way. Then followed by on which object we can apply the iterator. On yes object we can apply the iterator method. Yes dot. Then normally if it is only one type, like previously generic type as integer, string or character, then it is only one type. Now this time it is what type? Integer type and also string type. Therefore, mandatorily as a programmer, we have to typecast it to our collection type. We have to typecast it. It is same as like why we can't use ch++ when we are taking a for loop for character installation. Typecasting is required, right? Otherwise, internally it will not work. Therefore, we get a compile time error. Similarly, here also it's a similar kind of approach. So we can't use this directly. So we have to use the explicit conversion of hash map type. So this is the first point about. First, we have to create this object. So for hash map entry set, then on set object we can use the iterator, but it is not possible directly. We have to use the explicit conversion. Understood till this point. Then followed by which loop? While loop. What is the condition to write? Iterator object id dot has the next method. Next, inside this while loop, system dot out dot println. How to print it? it dot next. Again here it is which type? it is which type? Hash map type. So here also you have to convert the explicit conversion. So this is the story behind how do we go for these things. Explicit conversion is required. Otherwise, we get the compile time errors or we don't get the explicit output. We get only objects. So you can, if you understand this first one, same here also. I'm sorry, hash map event dot entry. Then only it will get the next one. Then if you want to get a key and get value, we can use that get key and get value also. So I'm back to this Eclipse. And I'll be using one of our collection previous. Yeah, let me go for hash map only. So here is some print statements. Let me comment another print statement, one more print statement. So let me save and let me use only one of these approaches after all this. Let's save and execute. Yeah, so here is the first approach to print this hash map elements called as print statement approach. Then let us go for second approach here. So hm is the object variable. So system.out.println print. Yeah. Second approach, I'm just printing. Can you please tell me? So by using for each loop approach here, we are going to print. So for all of you, hash map with h and m capital dot entry, then space programmer defined variable. Let me go for x, then colon. What we have to use here? Hash map is the object variable having hm. hm dot which method? hm dot you can see from this entry set is one method which is returning what? Set as a integer and string generic type. So this is one I am using here. Then inside this for each loop, how do we print the values? System.out.println. So print which variable we have to refer to? Only X variable. So I'm using it. Let me save and print. Control F11 to execute. What's output we got? 1 equal to James. Sorry, we got any output? Yes, from second approach, we are getting null equals to null, 1 equal to James, then 2 equals to Gosling, then 3 equals to map, 4 equals to James. So we are getting whatever is there in the collection. Same thing is the output here. If you want only keys, I don't want the values there. We want only keys to print from this collection. So X dot, we can apply a method called as get key. You can see get key is a method, and also you can see get values method. So if you print only get key, what's the output here? So this time by using second approach, we can print only keys. Can we print only values? So let me comment this one. I'll write in the next line system.out.println. So the reference variable is nothing but x dot get value is a method. So for this, we get the output as only corresponding values by using second approach. If you just enable both and use print statement instead of println to get in the same line, or you can use both of them in one print statement only also. So here is the corresponding null and null, 1 James, 2 Gosling. We can make these adjustments. Some plus with double quotes equal to symbol, or you can combine both as well, no issues. So here is the same way of output. So this is by using a for each loop approach, and especially why we have to use entry, we understood. And it's the same output for this. Clear this one? Third approach. Iterator. So for this third approach, yeah, what are the things before we go for the iterator object creation? First, what we have to do? So by using the collection object variable called as hm dot, which method we have to use? Same thing as previous method, previous approach. Here also entry set somewhere we used, and here also we have to use the entry set. Then this we have to store into some set with some object variable, yes or yes, whatever. So here is the first part. The set is imported. Now only hash map is imported. So let me import even this set as well. So this is the first. Then followed by which object we have to create? Iterator as an interface left hand side. Then followed by programmer defined object variable equals to, can we use hm dot? Can we use hm dot iterator? No. On hm, iterator itself is not showing in the IntelliSense window. This is not correct. Then what's the correct approach? Yes dot iterator is a method which we have to use here, and I think we need to import this one. Let me import java.util.it. Accepted? Yes or no? Next, followed by which loop? While loop. So while, what is the method to check the next element is there or not? It dot has next is a method. This will give the return as true if the element is there or object is there. If not, it will return false. Then followed by system.out.println. Yeah. It dot next method. Syntactically correct? So let me comment all the previous print statements except only third approach. So control yes to save, control F11 to execute. So what's the output? We got null equals to null, and 1 equal to James, 2 equals to Gaussian, 3 map, and 4 James. Okay. So here, when we are using, if you convert into explicit typecasting by using hash map, then dot entry, then we have to import the corresponding things, or we have to use this one to entry type. Then here is the first change. Please observe this one. On iterator also, we can use this conversion as hash map dot entry. For that, it should be a only entry type. So previously here also we can make it as only entry by removing this hash map. It is also possible. That is